Hey everybody, as I record this video, tomorrow is Thanksgiving here in the United States. And anytime you've got people together in close proximity, my first thought is, let's play a game. And people have asked me, what games do you guys play on Thanksgiving, or what should we play on Thanksgiving? So I'm going to do a real quick video of a few games you could consider playing or running out and getting today to play with your family and friends on Thanksgiving. Really, any game is a good game to play because just get together and play a game. That's the thing. But I'm going to assume that, like with my family, you're going to have a mix of people who play games fairly regularly, probably in the minority, and then regular people. So what games can you play with them? So I'm going to start off with mostly some really highly accessible party games that you can play with your friends and family that don't require you to have encyclopedic knowledge of fantasy tropes or science fiction genres. So let's dive in. We'll just look at a couple of them. So this is one we played a couple of years ago. It's called Cockroach Poker. It's a real simple game. It's just a deck of cards that have different kinds of creepy crawlies on them. They're not all insects, technically. You have a bat there, and you've got, is a spider an insect? Technically, no. It's a real simple game. It's a bit of bluffing and trying to read people. You have a hand of cards of the different critters, and you're going to be taking turns passing a card to somebody and declaring what it is, and you, of course, can lie about what it is. And the other player is either going to challenge you or try to pass that card to somebody else. And the object of the game is to get somebody to have 4 cockroach cards in front of them because they failed a challenge that many times. And we actually play where you also get eliminated if you have one of every of the creepy crawlies in front of you, just to make things even more tense. So very straightforward. Each game is about 10, 15 minutes long. Simple to play. So that one is pretty good. Another one that's probably pretty common is Codenames. Again, this is a very straightforward game. You're going to have words out in a grid, and you're divided into 2 teams. One team is trying to get all of the words that correspond to a layout that identifies their blue agents, whereas the other team is trying to identify the words that are where the red agents are on a card. And it works by you're giving a word clue, single word clue that could be associated with one or more of the words that you're trying to get your team to guess. And if you can be really clever and come up with something that can be associated with many of them, you might be able to guess several words on one round. But you'll find fairly quickly that you can rationalize a clue is working with any of those words out there. And that's part of the fun of the game, is just trying to react and figure out what's going on. And there's one word that no team wants to guess because that is the assassin, and then you automatically lose if you guess them. So you're trying to steer your teammates away from that word in particular by making sure that your clue cannot be associated with it. So fairly straightforward. One that we played last year, I think it was so Clover. This one works by having somebody is writing down words on the edges of the clover here that can be connected to the 2 words that correspond to these cards that are along the edge. So you're going to have 4 cards in there, and there's going to be 2 words that are next to each edge, and you're writing a clue that can be connected to both of them. And then you're taking the cards off and you're mixing them up, and then the rest of the people are trying to figure out how to arrange the cards so that 2 of the words can fit into one edge of the clover. So again, it's a fairly straightforward word association game. It's easy to play with non-gamers and with regular people as well. So that's kind of why we played it. One we played last night that we might try this year is Letter Jam. And that is one, it's cooperative. And everybody is going to have a 5-letter word that is composed of these cards. And they won't know what their 5 cards are. They're going to keep them face down. And they're going to have one of them is going to be face up so that all of the other players can see the letter. but you can't see your own letter. And then the group are going to be trying to form words with the face-up letters that they can see, as well as kind of a wild space that can be used as any letter, and without saying what it is. And you're spelling the words by handing out these numbered tokens so that they can say, all right, well, John's letter is the first letter of the word that I'm spelling, and Neil's letter is the second one, and Barbara's is the third. And so by figuring out what you can see, you can say, I can see all of those, but the fourth letter is my letter, which I don't know. So I'm going to write down a question mark there. And if somebody uses the wild, it's just an asterisk. And so sometimes, depending on what word you're spelling out, you can intuit what the missing letters are. And you're trying to do that in such a way that you figured out your own letter so that you can put that down and then put the next one of your 5 face down cards up so that the other players can see it. And you have a limited number of guesses. So you're trying to come up with words that tag a number of the players all at once, so that, again, the group can figure out, all right, I know what that word is because I have enough of the pieces filled in for me. And then because I've been able to figure out what my letters are, I've guessed my secret word that was formed from 5 cards given to me by somebody else. So it's not necessarily an easy game to play, but it is fun to work as a group and try to come up with the best, really long words that tap onto the other players as many times as possible. These are 2 games here that have a similar kind of a theme. They're a little bit less party gamey. They're starting to move more towards the range of, serious gaming. But still pretty light and straightforward. So we have Bang the Dice Game. So this is a dice game where the players, most of the players have a secret role. You're either with the sheriff and your deputies, or your bandits, and you are basically shooting the other players with dice that you roll, because the different dice have different results, like the ridicule there with the 1, that would do 1 point of damage to somebody. The arrows can do damage as well. There's a number of different die results, and you're trying to, through the actions of the others, figure out who's on your team and then eliminate the players who are not on your team. And it's interesting. It's pretty straightforward. It's a dice version of Bang the card game, and it does a pretty good job of distilling it down into a quicker and easier version of Bang. So I like Bang the Dice Game. I think it's a good one to play with a group, and there's only so many symbols, so it's pretty easy to go, all right, well, I can shoot somebody 2 spaces away from me, so yes, I'm going to shoot you, and I think maybe you're on my team, so I'm going to not shoot you, and then later on that person does something that makes you suspicious of them, so you're like, oh, maybe I should have shot you before. And so, yeah, it's very accessible and easy to play. Same thing with Cash and Guns. This is another one where you're shooting your family members, so it may have special appeal depending on who's in your family. This one is there's really no secret roles. You are all criminals who have just pulled off a heist, and you're supposed to be dividing up the loot, but everyone has a gun, and there's going to be times where you're going to go 1, 2, 3, and you're going to point at somebody. And sometimes your gun is loaded and sometimes it's not loaded, and you're deciding ahead of time. And if you get shot, you can't get any loot that time. And if you, duck and cover, you also can't get any loot. So only the brave and the bold will be able to get loot. And you're doing a number of rounds where you're trying to divide it up and end up with the most points. So it's all the little foam guns are kind of fun, unless, that freaks you out. But yeah, it's really simple, straightforward, easy to play, and the kids love it. So this one is a little more gamey. It's another cooperative one, and I like this for Thanksgiving because the tagline is cooperative game until the food is gone. The food running out on Thanksgiving usually not a high priority, but the way that Galapagos works is you are all on a desert isle there. You are stranded, and you are trying to build a raft so that everyone can get away. But in the meantime, you're needing to gather up food and water so that people don't die. You're scavenging supplies, and you're trying to beat out the approaching monsoon season. So it's a pretty well done game. It's very tense. It's not easy to do, but you can cooperate. But then there's, you don't want to get eliminated. So the cooperation sometimes takes a dark turn as you're like, well, I'm going to try to steal something from somebody, or, I'm going to shoot you because I have a gun. There's another one when you're shooting your friends and family. So who doesn't like that? Then we've got Cartographers, and Cartographers is a very accessible game, and it benefits from the fact that you don't have a limited player count. You could have 60 people all playing at once if that's the kind of Thanksgiving that you're having. The way it works is everyone's going to have a little map that's mostly blank, and you're going to be flipping over these cards that have little Tetris symbols with a special kind of terrain. And you're going to fill in the squares in the shape of that Tetris symbol using a fill-in technique that denotes different types of terrain. Like this is a forest, or this is farms, or this is a village. And you're filling this in, not sure what other cards are going to come up. And you have these different objectives where you can score points depending on like how contiguous your forests are, how many of your villages are not touching each other, or how different shapes work together. And it creates a lot of variety in how it fills out. And every once in a while you'll have a monster will show up, and you're going to actually pass your map to somebody next to you, and they're going to put the monster down, because the monster will be ways that you can lose points or can cause trouble on your map, and how you're going to try to achieve your objectives. And then you get it back and you go, oh, I can't believe you put that monster right there. So then you're trying to fill in around it to mitigate the damage done. We used colored pencils that make it a little more fun and lively looking, but you can just use regular pencils as you fill the stuff in. It is fun. It's really easy to play, and yeah, you can play with a large group. If you have a lot of people, that's good to play with. And that brings me to the last game, which has been a Thanksgiving tradition for us, especially when my mother-in-law was alive. She liked to play Agricola. It was the one that had kind of the most Thanksgiving-y feel to it out of all of our games, is where you are trying to create a farm and fill it out as much as possible, and you actually can score more by having a more diverse farm where you've got different kinds of animals, and you're growing different kinds of things in your field. You're growing your family, you're upgrading your house. There's a lot of different ways to score points in this. And yeah, she was determined. She actually had an app for it that she would play solo so that she could get better at it, because she was determined to beat me. That was not ever going to happen, but I kudos to her for giving it all and trying to get in there. It's usually my daughter Solvi who destroys us all at Agricola, so she is the one to beat. But we enjoy this. It's a game where you have a variety of decisions. There's no real wrong thing to do each turn, but there's definitely an optimal move, and you're trying to figure out and plan ahead for what your moves are going to be, and hope that somebody doesn't take that action on the turn that you were hoping to take it, because if they do, then you've got to come up with a plan B. And we've got the deluxe edition. This is the box of goodies, by the way, and we've got a lot of other stuff. So it's just, we got the fun little animal meeples, and the farmers are not just boring meeples, they're farm meeples. And we've got a lot of deluxe tokens and whatnot. And I've made a lot of custom things for this game as well. So it is a family favorite. We do tend to play it just about every year. Probably not this year, which is why I'll be bringing some of these other party games along, and we'll see how that goes. So that is the Rita family's approach to board gaming on Thanksgiving and over that weekend, since we're all basically around. I do try to force people to the table to play games, because I have a lot of games and I like to play them all, and I don't get as many chances to play them as I wish. So thanks for watching. Let me know what games that you have played or would want to play or hope to play on Thanksgiving, or any other holiday break where maybe you have a lot of your family around. I'm always looking out for good new games to play. I do like the party games, but I like the more, crunchier strategy games as well. I like the whole spectrum. So let me know what your recommendations are as well. And thanks for watching.